What is a guilty pleasure? Basically, it's a personal thing. Somehow you're drawn to something pop culture related that the general public frowns upon. Yet you seem to be inexplicably drawn to it. Everyone has a guilty pleasure of some kind, and it's such a bizarre sociological phenomenon. Well, I'm telling you to embrace your guilt. Here's 5 of my own guilty pleasure movies. The Transporter. The Transporter by no means is a good movie. The plot is typical, the characters are unoriginal, the soundtrack is awful. 10 minutes into this thing and you don't even need to finish it because you know exactly how it's going to play out. So, why the hell do I like this movie? It has a lot of meaningless action to it and it's actually shot really well. Plus, Jason Statham is a fantastic actor. Not to mention there's no deep philosophical meaning here and the filmmakers know it, they're just trying to make a kick-ass action movie. And they did an okay job. I guess the movie's good enough visually to be appealing, but not bad enough to the point where it's annoying. And in doing so, I can just switch off and have fun. Demolition Man. When debating on the subject of cheesy, Stallone-filled action movies, you do not get much closer to the bottom of the barrel than Demolition Man. The fact that this movie even exists is pretty miraculous. A movie about a future so strict that you can't even eat food that's bad for you, and yet the only restaurant left on Earth is Taco Bell. Aside from the irony, can you say product placement? Why would I waste my lingering sanity on this movie? Well, I'll tell you why, because the actors are just delightful. This was my introduction to Sandra Bullock, and all the characters have such great chemistry that it's hard not to enjoy it. Demon Knight. Being a horror junkie, I like to think that my taste in horror movies is rather fine-tuned. So why is this on the list? Tales from the Crypt movies aren't typically well received by the general public, mostly because of Bordello of Blood. This movie looks pretty cheap and has enough cheese to spread over every cracker in Utah, but if you just turn off your mind for a bit, it's actually pretty charming in a warped kind of way. The highlight of this film is definitely Billy Zane, whose performance is so comedically over the top it's hard not to just love the bad guy. Maniac Cop. While others prefer Jason Voorhees, Freddy Krueger, and Mike Myers, I tend to gravitate towards Officer Matt Cordell. This movie has Bruce Campbell and Robert Z'Dar, the 2 biggest chins in Hollywood, and a dynamic duo of ultra-cheesy movies. Maniac Cop's motivation is supposedly revenge, but he pretty much just kills anybody he feels like. This is a lot stranger than your average slasher movie, and that alone earned it a place on my shelf. Invaders from Mars. This movie is a remake and seemingly a forgotten one. It seems that only hardcore film buffs even know about it. But us Tobe Hooper fans know better, and what a ride it is. I like this movie primarily out of nostalgia, but it has some thematic value as well. The story and feel of the movie are something relatable to a kid's imagination, which fits because the whole movie is seen from the point of view of a child. This movie is actually one of those that I recommend to other people instead of bottling it up like my other guilty pleasures. Well, now that I've thoroughly shot my credibility in the face, I'll leave you to reflect on your own guilty pleasure movies. That wraps up this Janky Review. Remember to check out my friends at Pop Culture Philosophers and Killing Time, and remember, if you can't be fancy, be janky. See ya.